Hello, this is Victor at restoreyourmercedes.com. This is going to be a little different video from what I usually make, but this is for my customer in California, Vadim in California, plus pretty general video about what's going on with these reverse gears on these older 722.3 transmissions, V8s, V12s, and whatnot. So I'm making this video in my tool shed, basically. Not the tool shed, but rather just like a temp garage that I keep some parts here, some spare parts. I never made video on this one because I rarely work here. Plus, usually I store my jet ski in here for the winter, so I pulled it out for now so I can work in here because I did not want to take this transmission in the workshop. It's kind of heavy, so I decided to do it here. So let's just recoup what's going on now. Here's the ladder. I have this foldable ladder and a little jack. I don't know. A winch, electric winch. Here it goes. Electric winch. I had it for many years. I used it for many different purposes. I actually use it to pull jet ski in and out because it's easier than to push it. I'm just one guy, so 160 pounds. It's hard to pull and push jet ski in and out. So transmission was removed from the car is outside. Now the winch allows you to obviously bring transmission up and down, and also it's very nice to work on it because you can spin it around, and also because I have the pivot point, I can go forward and backwards, so I can tilt transmission back and forth and whatnot. So sit in your chair and basically do what you gotta do. Excuse me. Now, this transmission works perfectly fine in forward gears. It has 80,000 miles. It's some marks over here because it was seized up on these pins, and I had to really hit it a little bit to get it out. I'll grind them down, of course, clean them up a little bit. Not absolutely not critical. Okay, so let's just go with transmission now. Transmission itself is 80,000 miles. The car is a 1992 600 SEL. Lost reverse gears, and everybody say, oh, change the fluid, this and that, and no. When these lose reverse, you basically have no friction discs left in your reverse gear. I believe it's K3, clutch 3, I don't remember, but anyway, I've done many of these in my days when I had my shop, but for this particular one, the forward gears are perfectly fine, and reverse gear is only it only engages when it's very, very cold. Like it's cold condition, it engages once, twice, maybe once it warms up, no more engagement. So customer tried with different additives and nothing helps. So obviously that's the case. So I decided to take the clutch apart, look at frictions and see if anything else is wrong, if any metal shavings or whatever. And that's why I didn't really go crazy cleaning on this transmission, because I decided to do very local repair. I'm only doing reverse clutches. Okay, I'm not doing anything else. I'm not even separating the valve body because forward gears are fine. Engagement is excellent. Downshift, upshift, no problems. So I do not want to lose that because tolerances are very hard to get right on this transmission. So all your clutch, all the other clutches and brake bands, tolerances, pistons, this, that, very hard to get them perfect. It takes a very long time. So what I decided to do, not to touch anything, but to do very reverse clutches. Okay, so to do reverse clutches, you have to take out the B1. This one is, I'll show you on a bench. And obviously when you do this kind of work, you do want to change your O-rings, this one, that one. There's Teflon ring in there, this one right here, obviously a front cover seal. And on this side, I remove the second piston from B1 because when I compress the B1 cover, the piston itself, I do not want it to push because it's adjustable. I don't want to lose that adjustment. And it's very difficult to readjust it because you got to reset it and it's hard. So that's why I took it out, and I'm going to install it the same exact way. Obviously transmission will be dripping, leaking a little bit here and there. This is your valve body. Everything is clean. I don't see no metal shavings, and the dirt and whatnot that obviously is you know, it's expected. I mean, just all this stuff is gonna be coming out. Obviously I cleaned up this one, the area around the band, and I'm gonna clean the internals before I put the band, the piston back in for B1. So second thing we're gonna go looking is that's what I will always do. I mean, nobody, well, I mean, I don't know, maybe somebody does it, but I always take out transmission filter apart. Okay, so the filter is MAN. All right, so that's a good filter. It even has the floater back and forth. This is like a cover that closes one inlet and opens another, and back and forth, because when the fluid moves, hard acceleration or hard braking, fluid shifts over, so therefore the cover shifts with it. Many filters do not come with it. I don't know if it's really necessary, but that's a good thing that this one has it. It's original the way it is. Looking at the filter, we obviously have wear and tear. And this is this gray stuff. Transmission works, you know, so it's mechanical piece, so you will always have something, and that's not too bad. There's nothing here that is shiny. That's what you do not want to see. You do not want to see any kind of shiny particles. That will tell you either the bearing or some washers, some springs or whatever. They're grinding, and that's metal. Metal will go in, and that's going to be a big issue. Now inside the filter, it appears that it was replaced because the amount of frictions in here does not add up how many frictions actually failed. So here we have our frictions. As you can see, these are the broken frictions that came off reverse gear. Filter is completely clogged with them. All right, so you can see here's a little metal speck here, but again, 1, 2 is not a big deal. Here's another one. So you will see maybe some, but not like completely covered. One of my transmission that I had once, this was completely covered with metal flakes. That's horrible. So these are all of our frictions here, and the rest inside the filter is pretty good. I don't see any metals. It's the same thing as you would do with oil filter. If you suspect engine wear, you take the oil filter apart and see if you got any brass, copper brass shavings in it, so then that will tell you your main bearings are gone. So same for transmission, but here we're looking at frictions. As you can see, each and every part of the filter is blocked off with frictions. There's frictions everywhere. These are some loose pieces that did not suck into the filter, but these are our frictions. This nonetheless, so you can't break it apart. So that's what I always do. I take filters apart. See, on top here it's perfectly fine because the filtering, it's a good filter. It's a quality filter. Therefore, it basically absorbed all of this junk that was floating around. So this is our filter situation, but I would suspect that this filter was replaced at some point, because I also see a little bit of silicone here on this O-ring. I don't know why it was put in there, but definitely I'm sure somebody replaced the filter, at least to try it. Now the workbench here, this is actual table is wrapped with brand new wrap. From my old wrapping days, I have some remaining rolls, so I completely wrapped the table so it's perfectly clean, and it's very easy to clean off the plastic wrap. You know, this is just white color generic, but very good material. So I just have it laying around, and I'm not doing these kind of things no more. I had made this little tool to push the brake piston B1 inside, because these springs are very strong. They come out very far. All right, bolts, oil pan, and catalytic converter. All right, so I obviously want to close that up. Inside our oil pan, we also see a little bit of frictions here floating around. Not as many as you would imagine that you would have, because most likely, again, fluid and filter were replaced at some point, but that obviously didn't help. And moving on, you got one of the clutches, the band itself, brake band, which is fine, because again, transmission shifted just fine. No disintegration on the band, it's not cracked, there is nothing lodged in there, so this is fine with me. This is to be reinstalled. You still have numbering, as you can see, so they didn't even wear off yet. Okay, this is good. Here's our front pump and front cover and the actual piston for reverse. Now here is what you will see interesting is you see a touch point. See a touch point right here. Right over here. You have touch point right over here. Over here. Over there. So basically what happened is because the clutch is worn out, the piston would push past its limits and it would already start touching the actual drum here. As you can see the shiny area here, this is where it would touch, right at the edge, like really at the edge. I don't know if camera picks it up, like right exactly here, right here. See, that's the touch point. So this is where it would touch, and in some cases when it's very neglected, it will push so much and it will destroy the disc where return springs are. See the return springs? So there's a circlip underneath and it will deform this disc and it will just shoot out. Once it shoots out, bad news, because all of the springs, and it's very bad news. So these still intact, which is really good news. That's why I decided to do only reverse clutches and nothing else also, because nothing separated. Obviously front cover seal to be replaced, no question about that. I don't see any kind of dirt inside passages because I will double check this piston operation. I'm not taking it apart again. It's original 1992 produced right there. It's a piston case. Nothing is broken around here, although Teflon rings obviously to be replaced, and that's a must, of course. Surfaces are okay. Yeah, they're all right. Bushing's fine, so that I don't have an issue with. And let's move on to the actual clutches now. So these are the clutches. This is how they go into the transmission. You usually lay it down the way you take it apart. So this will go first, this, and so on. So it's good to have them lined up so you know exactly which way they are oriented, because some of them are beveled, like this one for example. You see it's not this is smooth and this isn't. So that's how I like to have them. So, and this is what we see basically. Here is the last one that did some sort of engagement. It has just a little bit of material left. See, you got a little piece here left, a little piece over here left, although it might just come right off if I'm gonna just use my pick. Let's try it. Let me just hold it with one finger, because one hand I have a glove on. Oops. You can see it's moving. There. So you see, very easy to remove because they're all disintegrated. Okay, so again, you have a little bit. Let me throw it on the floor. You have a little bit left here, you have a little bit left here, and the rest, pretty much nothing left. Right here, this segment here, and a little bit here left, and that's about all. As you can see, this is it. This is the only thing that engaged it in reverse, because the other side also has just a little bit left. If you look, there is some here, some here, some here, so a little bit here left. See, and let's take a look at the clutch that is on the others. Okay, the others, comparing to this one, again I'm just trying to line them up. All the other ones are totally bold, nothing left, absolutely nothing left. Obviously they're not gonna go down to metal, but the frictions are completely gone. For example, we'll just compare. So here is the one that has a low friction, and this one has absolutely nothing left on it. Now what you would imagine is, oh, here it is. Oh, look at that. This one has some left on the other side. I didn't look. I just disassembled this transmission just now. Yeah, okay. So see, this one has a little bit left. So just a little bit. So this is what really engaged this transmission. Just the resemblance of some sort of, in a way, resemblance, I guess. This one totally bald, nothing left on this one. This one is also bald on this side and completely bald on the other side, nothing left. So we had two clutches that had a little bit of material left, two frictions, and that's what engaged it when it was cold. But the problem is, once you lose the frictions, the tolerances, they go away. So now you have so much more room. You have to have this piston to move out so much to engage it. And once these pieces would fail, there would have been pretty much catastrophic failure on the actual return spring disc. So this transmission was caught right on time. Absolutely, this is just the best. When you do it before it shatters. Okay, I've seen this before. I had the car with that transmission. I had to rebuild complete transmission because you got metal now floating around and you cannot have that metal. Frictions will be caught up by the filter. Anti-rattle spring was there too, so this is good news. It didn't break, because if they push out, the piston pushes out a lot and starts leaking fluid, you destroy the seal, it's all very sad. And then the rattle spring can also be dislodged, and then that can go down and start spinning with, oh, no good. This is also a retainer for the clutches. That was also not broken, because again, they did not push out all the way. So right now the agenda is following, like Teflon rings, seal, new clutches, of course. You have to soak them in fluid for 24 hours. That would be ideal, because you don't want to put them in and just run the car dry, put it in reverse and off they go. I need to clean up some bolts. Obviously new seal for the transmission here, for the oil pan, because even the seal, I see that it's actually pretty good. I don't see lots of deformation. Yeah, so definitely somebody replaced it. Cleaning the pan, of course, just a little bit of clean here and there, but nothing very drastic. O-rings, obviously, right here. The pins, they remain inside. This pin did not come out. This is very good news, because sometimes it breaks off from its holder, and that is a hard plastic that can be dislodged. That didn't break. That's good too. So these two O-rings, this is an overload protection switch, by the way. This piece right here, this comes out from the piston, just so you know. This can be pulled out. There is an O-ring there too, but it came out one piece, leaving it one piece. That, and obviously new filter, right? There are also some seals here, right? They're on transmission right now, but I might replace them. That's where the filter actually connects to the valve body here. You see right here, right here. All right, so this O-ring right here, I'm thinking about the governor cover. I don't know yet. We'll see. And cleaning up surfaces and putting it back together. Off it goes. Well, this O-ring as well for the dipstick. Rear is not leaking, nothing here leaks, so it was dry. Rear seal is fine. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of leak from the upper oil pan on the engine. It's like right here, you see. It's oil, that's engine oil. But that cannot be remedied without removing the engine, because it's just too big. You gotta take the engine out, but it's seeping just a little bit. It's not critical, really. It's there is some other oil leaks in front of the engine, so that doesn't really matter. Obviously all the bolts have to be torque right. You can't just like tie them up by hand and off they go. Cover and all that. And yeah, so right now I'm gonna go make a list of parts I need. For the transmission, I'm probably gonna buy a reseal kit, all the seals. I picked whichever ones I need. Clutches I buy separate. I buy only 4 clutches for frictions. Also, when frictions wear out, usually inside drums, when they get to metal, they eat up steels. These are steels, so once you have tolerances way off, then transmission starts slipping and whatnot. We're only dealing with reverse. Steels seem to be fine, because frictions on the reverse usually never go down to metal. Okay, so they still have a little bit of material left. This material, this is still friction material, you know, but it's like a backing of the friction material. So therefore steels do not wear out. Well, at least I never seen it. Now brake band also, sometimes they like really black. But this one is okay, like I showed you before. It even has numbers still on it and printed, and you can read them. So this band is pretty much good and usable. If you want to do this proper, you have to actually check with the calipers, the thicknesses of drums, the depth and clearances of clutches and all that stuff. But again, this transmission shifted fine. I'm only doing this, and I would judge, maybe I should say don't do it at home, because if your tolerance or one O-ring or the Teflon ring is off, then it's not gonna shift. Torque converter I drained, no abnormal particles or dirt or dust or whatever metal came out. That's also good news. The torque converter shaft is fine. The actual shaft where it slides into the front, I'm not gonna show it. The one that slides into the front cover, let me just move this a little bit, into the front cover, it was perfectly fine. The main seal here, front seal, is perfect, but I am replacing it anyway just for good measure. Pump, I'm not touching the pump. Pump was perfect. And that is the agenda, basically. I'm not cleaning the whole transmission because, again, it's gonna go back in the car, nobody will see it and everything, and I don't want no dirt to be dislodged. Let the dirt sit. I'm just gonna clean my points of interest, like that. For example, see this little speck here? Obviously that is to be removed, and only points of interest, because I'm trying to localize this repair. I'm not trying to go all the way and take it all apart. And this is it, basically. Yeah, I guess I covered it all. Yeah, I think that's it. Well, maybe I'll pause the video. I'll go show you the car on the street real quick. Okay, so there it is. That's the car. So what have we here? The car is on jack stands. This is just an extra security measure, because just in case jack stand fails, so at least I have high enough security. It's like a double. Suspension is a little extended, so, but anyway, if the jack stand fails, then at least it's not gonna fall. This is my life, you know. I'm under the car, I don't want to have issues. Now, because jack stands are so close to each other, they're right on the subframe, the transmission did not go forward, but I jacked this car really high, transmission went sideways, so I had enough clearance, no problems. Same for the back. I have two jack stands just in case. Suspension is a little elevated, so it's about probably like 80% on jack stand and 20% on the ramp. So up front is a little more. I think it's like 60-40 or something. Actually 80-20. 80 on the jack stand and a little bit on the jack on the ramp. The engine, as you can see, there is a little bit of seepage going on over there, right? That's the oil pan. That's a lower oil pan. It's not the okay. So if you would have a seepage from the main seal, right, from the main seal right there, right, you would have some oil going around. But this one, see, it's coming from the bolt. I'll tighten them up, but it will be also here. You know, the oil will